Just getting her started. Don't worry, everybody. I think I'm in a good spot. Let's see here. Yeah, that works. All right. Don't worry, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's edition of the Growl streaming series. Appreciate everybody hanging out, interacting, just fucking doing. Hey, first time you catch this live? Nice. Hope you just, obviously, I don't know if you know or just follow the page or whatever like that. Everything is up there. All the videos have been up since we started these live streams. And they're up on YouTube also at the Growl Death Metal Documentary YouTube page. So yeah. Good times, man. What's up, everybody? Greg, Danny. Easy on the beers. This is my first beer of the day. Yesterday I went a little bit. Day before I fucking... Wow. Sometimes you just have to. You have to just let that release out, right? Can't do it every day, right? So, hell yeah, here we go. Hey, man. What's up, Jake? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Let's see how this works out here. Let's put in a good old VHS and see what's on this, eh? I like VHS. I do. I'm a fucking big VHS guy. What's up, guys? Hell yeah, I can give her. You gotta give her once in a while. Fuck, man. We're getting pent up in these places nowadays. It's like, what else do we got? We got music, we got horror movies, we got beer, and we got weed. Best fucking combinations ever. Literally. Couple shots. I got a few more upstairs. I'm kind of running low, but it's Thursday. I don't know what I'm going to do on the weekend. We'll see what happens. So tough. Fucking pungent stench, man. For God, your soul, extreme deformity. For God, your soul, been caught buttering. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. After that, when they went into Club Mondo, Psychotronic, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's some good tunes, but it wasn't the same after that. And then when they reformed, I wasn't a fan of that either. Like Amputee, when they started doing, I don't know. Just not for me. Not for me. Am I a space simulator? Why is it so congested in here? It's tiny. It's little in here. We'll throw this on here. Brandon. Brandon's a local guy too. He did some zines back in the day also. What was your zine called, Brandon? Put it in the comments. That's cool. I forget what it was called. PBR. I'm not a big PBR guy, but I mean, the lady likes it, but I'm just going to drink them on her. Who remembers this?
guess it started with Napalm Death. You know, they're pretty much one of the first bands in the world to play the way they do, and like they influenced most of the other bands on the label, as well as all the grindcore bands in the world, really. And I got to know them through just with friends with them, basically, in '86, and so they made a demo tape, and no one else would touch it, no other labels or anything. So I thought, well, you know, I loved it, so I put it out, and that was their first album, Scum. After that, you know, that became the blueprint for most of the other bands around.
This is Napalm Death on what we can say a Tuesday afternoon in Birmingham by the canal.
I don't know if this is on DVD at all. I don't think so. If anything, it'd be bootleg. Good old VHS though, man. They're from Birmingham, England.
I'm a totally happy person. I mean, when we're chuffed, you know we're chuffed. When we're pinged,
chuffed.
Well,
you chuffed?
That's like slightly like, that's like, you're not happy, you're pinging bad.
It's a little Crown Royal.
They've pissed you off. Weekend, well, that is when you're like, you're gone to bed.
You're ready for rhino
charge, you know.
This is this is just an old VHS that I've had dubbed off of. I think my buddy Metal Dan has the original. And, that's where, yeah, I dubbed it off of him back in the day. Chuffed. We're all fucking chuffed. Vocal wipeouts, right? Who's big into live corruption? Isn't that the fucking greatest VHS in the world too?
We just sort of met them through like tape trading, I guess, magazines, and just writing and sending tapes and just saying like chuff with napalm and stuff like that.
Jesse Pintato. Rest in peace, man. Fucking Grindfather, right? The Grindfather.
Napalm was sort of, I guess, promoted.
Oh, Blonde Barney.
Not
what's up, Barney?
People's throats, but it was in places where, you know, people could see, and they sort of thought, well, what's this like, the fastest band in the world, sort of thing, in quotes.
We sort of abandon musical standards. We don't write songs that, you know, the rock sort of format. I mean, I think we're pretty much the end of the line. I don't think you're going to get a band that's going to go more extreme than us.
Oh. You ain't going to get a band that's going to be more extreme than us.
He got me into this sort of thing, you know what I mean? It started from the early extremes like Motorhead and stuff. And my dad, like, he understands everything about napalm, you know what I mean? He doesn't just like it just because, you know, I've taken active part in the band. He actually is into the music sort of thing, and he understands it.
My dad doesn't understand it, he never will. He'll never understand it. Well, his comment is, turn it down, turn that bass down, that's stupid.
Yeah.
What sort of vocals are them?
I still like this newer napalm though. Newer. I still like this napalm though. Utopia, I didn't mind it. Fear, Emptiness, Despair, I thought was a great album.
I'm feeling something inside, I don't know what it is. It's like something wants to break out, but it's chuffed feeling. So I'm so chuffed.
He's chuffed, he's fucking chuffed. Man.
Bloody chuffed.
Yeah, that's what chuffed means. That's hilarious.
The music we play, I mean, it's. I don't think you can get any more extreme. To speed-wise, it's the fastest. I'm proud to say it's the fastest. You know, nothing can be faster. Sorry, Dave. You know what I mean, but yeah, it's just not fast enough, mate.
I think Pete Sandoval was a little faster than that. And then they didn't hear Cryptopsy at the time. They didn't hear Brutal Truth at the beginning. Well, during this at least. Brutal Truth, fucking Ill Neglect 7-inch. That was fucking fast. Even, let's see. Even Early Embalmer, Into the Oven demo. That was fucking fast. And then Phobia, their first release, Return to Desolation on Relapse Records. That was fucking fast. But yeah, it's funny. Pete Defeat, dude. I love Mick Harris. I love the way his drums, fucking the Human Tornado and everything like that. But come on, man, it was way faster than Napalm at the time too, right? Invite. Yeah, we're all chatting. We're just hanging out. What's up, Jake? Fucking right, Greg. Greg, hooking it up, man. Appreciate the support, man. Love it. Been hanging out, watching the streams, piping up, doing this shit. I'm from Bristol in the UK, so I'm an hour or two away from them. Jake? Oh yeah, eh? So you're chuffed too, huh? You bloody chuffed? That's fucking killer. I want to give a shout out to there's some fucking old school guys too, if you haven't heard of Primeval from New York. They started in 86. And again, that's fucking early for extreme music. Primeval, New York, Andy Eichhorn, and Mike Usifer, original dudes. I didn't see them back in the day. I wasn't familiar with a lot of Primeval back in the day. It just didn't come my way. But I did get a chance to see them in, I think it was 2011. It was one of the, again, I keep bringing up Brian Pattison because the guy fucking brought some unbelievable shows back to Buffalo in like 2010 to, I think it was 15 or 16 or something. Excuse me. And Primeval played. No, it wasn't, I don't think it, was it the Day of Death? That was with October 31. Embalmer. Absconder. Oh my god, I got the poster somewhere too. That was a great show. But yeah, Primeval played that one. With Funerus. Cardiac Arrest. Yeah, it was a fucking stacked lineup. And then they played again, I believe, I don't know if it was Club Infinity, the Forum in Buffalo somewhere. And Primeval played again. And fuck, man. Had to get a shirt, man. So cheers to old school motherfuckers, Primeval. Damn straight, man. Pete's still killing it. I saw Terrorizer in November. Sweet. I'm dying to see Terrorizer, man. Like, I mean, World Downfall is like one of the greatest albums like ever. Period. Grindcore, death metal, doesn't matter, man. There's just something about that recording. Holy shit, man. Shit.
I've only got one hopper. Getting tattooed.
What do we got here?
My legs, my back, and my arms. I mean, I'm totally into it. John Foster Tattoo Studio, Birmingham, selling tattoos.
I'm an interviewer and reviewer for a website. Jake Butler. I'm in Washington State, so we have killer stuff from Fetid, Cerebral Rot, Drawn and Quartered, Infester. Drawn and Quartered, that's another one, man. They've been just creeping in the background for fucking ever, too. Like, if you're not familiar with Drawn and Quartered, there's another one there you gotta check out. Fucking right, man. I wish I could see Terrorizer.
I'm going for a full Japanese bodysuit, then I'll be chuffed. Except for the second, my face, hands, feet,
Enemy of the music business. Good album.
Yeah, nothing on the dick either. My ass, that's going to be tattooed.
I mean, what really happened was there were a few bands in America.
Yeah, Gustavo.
English bands were picking up on, but they were like in bands like Siege, a Boston band, and a band called Repulsion. I mean, they were like very unknown in America, but the demo tapes sort of made it over to England, and bands like Napalm Death and Carcass and stuff were real big fans of that style, you know.
See, even he said Siege and Repulsion brought the extreme over to the UK. But the UK's been doing it for a while though too. They've had their brand of hardcore, even power violence kind of feel too, right? Forever, like since the early '80s.
It was all done on a kind of tape
So.
type of circuit, which got the music around really well.
What's up, everybody? John,
A lot of the bands
Schmudenhaven,
have on the label now that are quite
Chalmers,
I mean,
McPherson.
they do actually owe their
Drawn and Quartered has a sick DVD. Oh, no shit, eh?
people that were taping tape
Dig. Yeah, man, it's fucking dig. As the old dudes. And we've been chatting with Al. He's the American side of it all, out in New York, because I ended up meeting up with him a few years ago just to, handshake, how's it going? Let's get connected or whatever like that. So we're gonna be featuring Al in the documentary because obviously Earache is fucking gigantic.
I'm David Vincent, bassist and vocalist for Morbid Angel.
There he is. Time does matter. You just gotta watch. You want to know when the interview is? Just watch. He's coming on. Don't worry. He's waiting in the background. I just gotta talk, get everybody going. Can't just throw Matt right on and then have nobody watching right away. We gotta get the viewers going, man. Fucking right. What's up, Vaughn? Vaughn Young. There's another dude. I fucking bring up Deaden album, Hymns of the Sick, a lot. When I talk about brutal death metal, man, that album especially is fucking sick. It's sick. It's the coolest, cleanest sound. It's such a clean sound, but it's so fucking deadly, man. Wow. And then his new band, Levidity, been fucking killing it too, man. Just brutal.
It was our first European tour.
Yeah, good old Dave Vincent, the blonde ears, eh?
And gave them a chance to see us for the first time. And I think
This show has a monologue, mate. Hey, everybody's new to this. Hey, man. Don't worry, we're just feeding into this and just getting it going, man. That's all. I saw Terrorizer in 2017 playing All of World Downfall. Was that Terrorizer with Lee Harrison or is that Terrorizer with Oscar Garcia? Jake. Dead and Ruled? Oh, you seen them? Oh, you shit. You shit. That's not fair. That's not fair at all, man. I wish I'd seen Deaden. During that late 90s, early 2000s, brutal era. I did go to Toronto to see a lot, but they didn't come around. They didn't, at least I don't remember. I don't know, Vaughn, did you ever come to Toronto? Or whatever? I don't know. Not that I can remember. Right on, right on. Look at Gregory just fucking hooking it up, man. Right on, guys. Right on. But yeah, man, this was Hard and Heavy, the Grindcore edition. They had, it was like a video series. They had like thrash and glam and all this other shit too, right? But this was actually a really good video. They had some really cool bands on here too. If I remember, I haven't watched this in probably, it's been a fucking long time actually since I've watched this.
In which you are shedding the outer skin and going into the inner skin.
Right on. Blood Incantation, man. We're gonna be talking about those motherfuckers, of course. Damn straight. Just hoping for some content. This is great content. This is what we getting it started already, man. What's going on?
Satanism could be selfism or humanism very easily.
Mm.
And this idea of actually
Ah.
worshiping the devil. Okay?
When you throw Crown Royal
Worshiping,
with a fucking sip of beer,
you know, just turning that around,
and you do that combination, oh man, it's a fucking tasty treat. And in Canada too, we have 40 Creek whiskey, which is actually brewed about not even a half hour from the house, from where I live in St. Catharines, which is Niagara Falls, Ontario, pretty much. I'm going to say Niagara Falls, Ontario, because everybody knows Niagara Falls or everybody knows Toronto. So, Niagara Falls, Canada. Yeah, this whiskey is literally brewed like not even a half hour away, man. It's fucking killer. It's fucking great. Dead and played a basement show party at my house in '98. What? No shit. That's fucking killer. That's fucking killer.
Really, resources are getting used up at such a quick rate. We have such a population explosion, and I think the world is really starting to wake up in a lot of ways.
You can watch YouTube videos all day. Well, you kind of do, right? You just get into this wormhole of just checking one thing out, and it goes to another thing, it goes to another thing. Yeah, man. But yeah, like I got this VHS, so I throw on VH. I try to throw on some VHS. I don't have a shit ton of tapes. I just have So, so let's figure this out here. Let's go over and let's go see what our buddy's doing over here.
As a complete raving lunatic and idiot.
All right.
Or you can live your life as a total
let's go here.
Flowing kind of person.
Alright,
For the most part,
now I gotta figure this out here. Hold on.
I tend to live my life over here, but I know the rules of this game, and I can kind of float myself over this way, do what I need to, and then
Let's get a flashlight here because I'm fucking blind. But yeah, check it out to see if you can find it. Hard and Heavy Grindcore. Alright, let's do this motherfucker. Well. What's up, bro?
What's happening?
Just fucking hanging out and having a couple beers. What are you doing?
I had a little nap. I was working today, getting some orders packed up, so I took a little nap. Yeah.
Oh shit! Hey, do you want to turn your computer down on your end?
Yeah. Give me a sec.
Yep.
That should be okay.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, just because when there's noise in the background, there's always that little lull and there's like a time delay and everything like that. Sweet. What's going on, bro?
Just a minute here. There we go. Now I think I got it.
Yeah.
I told you that I was technology challenged here, so yeah, not much, man. It's just been steady pace here. I've been keeping the guys at home, throughout this monthly. So I've been working a lot on my own. Today Eric did come in because we had a lot of band camp orders, so we kind of worked through it a little bit. But yeah, 4 walls, me, I'm just here.
Right on. Obviously sporting a little Slayer flag in your background there.
Yeah, I covered up the records. Yes.
So, this Mr. Matt Calvert, he runs Dark Descent Records, and you're out in Colorado, correct?
Yep, Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, where you got some legalized weed going on.
Yeah, I mean, I came down here for work actually about 10 years ago. 10 years ago in June. So.
And that was the first reason why you came there, and are you running Dark Descent full time?
Yeah, it's been full time. I've got a little unique situation more than most. You know, I did the 22 years in the Air Force, and I retired.
Wow.
I got there in 2012. So I've been doing this full time since then. I've got the benefit that some others don't. You know, I don't necessarily have to pay my bills from so that doesn't put strain on other things. So I can kind of continue just to do this and you know, see how it goes.
Holy shit, that's fucking awesome. So let's get into why you started Dark Descent Records.
All right, let's see. Okay, so there was a guy that was local. I was in Biloxi at the time working. I was still in the Air Force. He couldn't find anybody to release his second album. I had a little bit of cash saved up from, you know, a second job that I had when I was going through divorce. So I told him that I would, you know, kind of help him out with it, and we do all that. And somewhere along the line, it turned into like, hey, let's do a label with it. And then it became, hey, let's find some bands that are really sick, you know. And then from there, it was just, you know, my kind of obsessive nature, you know, poked its head and took over from that point.
So, what was the first band that you ended up signing then?
You know, that's hard. I mean, the first release that we did is the Burial and Location Rituals of the Grotesque CD. So that was our first release. That one came out February of 2010. So that was our first release. I don't know, first signing and all that other stuff. I mean, I was talking at that time to, you know, bands like Adversarial, Horrendous, and there were some other bands in there that didn't flesh out in the long run, but some of those same bands that I was talking to early on and that we decided to work with early on are still around.
Sweet. So right from there, like you said, that first release you put out, you got some good response from that because obviously it kept going.
Yeah, it was actually a great response. I was pretty surprised. I mean, we were selling, you know, just the one mini CD, and I'd wake up, you know, and look in the shop, and we'd have like 15 orders. I was like, whoa, you know. I mean, this was still a little different time. I mean, we're talking about 2010, and back then, you know, you could sell 500 records, and that was some big accomplishment.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, in the last 10 years or whatever, we've kind of come to think of this resurgence in metal. But you know, some of us were still pushing that, you know, right before even more people came on. So, you know, when you're moving 1,000 CDs and it takes you like a year or so, when it's your first release, you get pretty excited. So, you know.
For sure. So, right after that, like you said, the ball just started rolling, and then you just started reaching out and just starting to grab the bands that you liked. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I would go out and canvas myself, you know. I mean, this is stuff that I heard or heard people share or things that I liked, and I would contact the bands. I mean, I don't think I've contacted a band in a while. I mean, you know, early on, this is what I did. I was just Matt Calvert. I wasn't anybody, you know. I was just going out and talking to these people. So I had to sell myself, you know. I mean, hey, I got this really little label that nobody knows about, and I want to take your work that you spent hours and hours and hours on, and I want to release it on a physical format. Will you let me do it? You know, kind of thing. So, yeah, it was, you know, wasn't always easy. And, I'm sure I got snubbed a few times because, we were small and, they didn't understand. But there were some bands in there that had a bigger vision, once I talked to them.
Yeah, totally. Well, they probably just felt like we always talk about, just the passion for what you're doing, and you're just trying to be as sincere as possible, and they obviously just stayed with you.
Yeah. I mean, from day one, my whole point was to be transparent. I mean, you see it on the Facebook page. I'm not trying to make any airs or pretend to be cult or anything like that. I mean, I've been around. I mean, I'll be 49 in November, so I'm not in the actual young years. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I don't really care, So yeah, it was all just about being honest and kind of just getting to know people is what it was. And like I said, a lot of people bought on and it kind of rode this wave of there's been all these labels and all these bands really talk about the resurgence of metal and the resurgence of death metal and stuff, but it's because of bands and labels like ours that just kept pushing it, even before us and after us, so it wasn't some kind of short peak and hopefully that drop off of everybody again, but it is what it is. Even if that happens, we'll still be around doing our thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, it's a lot of work to have a label going, right? It's one thing to get the band and then put your money into it, get the freaking CD manufactured, and then distribute the fuck out of it. Hopefully the band actually does tour and promote themselves also. So, like, it's a huge undertaking, period. Like, that's a lot of stress.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gotten a lot more stressful now, but at the same time, like I said, I did 22 years in the military, so this stress is different than the stress that I had before. It's a different type of stress, meeting deadlines and trying to satisfy everybody, with release dates and making sure product gets in time, making sure you got the PR ready, making sure you got all that other stuff too. Because I do the job of, at a bigger label, several people. I do sign the bands. I'm uploading stuff digitally. I'm preparing files. I'm working with PR. Big labels obviously have individuals that do these separate tasks. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those balance things. You just kind of gotta find that groove. And sometimes you get thrown off a little bit, but, it is what it is.
But you love death metal, so it doesn't matter.
I love metal, man. I mean,
just metal.
Yeah. I mean, I it's been my life or part of me for a long time. So it was just something that is natural to me. It was just something that, well, if I've got to do something, I mean, let's do something cool, So.
Right on.
I mean, I had job offers when I was retiring. I knew I could get a job, but I didn't want to do that anymore, man. I feel detached. I always, I wasn't part of that establishment. I didn't feel like, raw. I wasn't it was always a means to an end for me. I looked at it, what can it get me? And now is the time that is kind of paying those dividends for me. I went to school on their dime. Yeah, I went to a lot of cool places. I went to a lot of crappy places. Had to move around a lot. Went through some hardships. But in the end, I got my degree. Now they pay me not to work. And now I can kind of further that by doing what I love.
Ah, okay. So you're just, so you're just using your resources and fucking just rolling with it for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helped, man. Kind of keeping the label afloat in the early years, having a second job. Once that initial investment, in the label was made, there was only a couple times I really had to inject some cash, but it's been all self-sustaining for 8-9 years now.
So you've been have obviously, I'm assuming you've been in the scene since like the early days.
In the scene by like I was listening to music. I wasn't, like I said, I spent a good part of my life traveling. So my thing would be my CD collection, or before that, my tape collection. And purchasing things and reading magazines and stuff. I didn't really keep up with, going to shows because, like I said, I was over in Germany or I was over, in Korea or, I did go to shows in Germany. But, I mean, there wasn't any real scene that I was in or a part of. I was just a guy that was in the military that loved listening to metal, and I had before, I joined, and I still do. So.
Right on. So how's the scene in Colorado going on then? Obviously, you got Blood Incantation, and what else is going on there?
Well, like I said, I'm kind of like the lone wolf, out in the Springs. There's guys around here, and, 8 years ago, we may have had an order from the Springs every so often. But nowadays it happens, they're there now. But again, I'm just kind of doing my own thing in the Springs. The guys in Denver, I know it just seems like it's really close, but sometimes it feels far away. But yeah, I mean, over there, you got that group of guys that are making great music and that are getting recognized for all their stuff, and that's good. I don't think that was truly a thing, 10 years ago.
Right.
But now Denver has kind of gotten a little spotlight on them.
Right on. Yeah, because
as far as there's really nothing. It's just we're here, and I've thought about bringing shows here, in the past and stuff just to do it. I don't care. If it doesn't inconveniences people from Denver to come down, so what? I'm going to have a sick show and I'm going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's pretty much for you regardless, right?
Yeah, people will show up.
But you've had a couple of cool Dark Descent fests. And I mean, you've invited me, obviously, but I mean, I think that's it's like an 11-hour drive for me just to get down there. But
it would have been worth it though for you.
I know. Don't bring it
up. I had 2 of them in Denver. Both of them were sold out.
Oh fuck, man. So I've noticed too with like your label itself, you seem to sign like it's not just straightforward death metal. You have there's something about these bands that you bring onto your label. Are you just are you trying to find these weird bands and what is Dark Descent all about really?
Well, one thing in the music, in metal especially, I was never really into jokes and stuff, and I always thought, to me, metal was something that was dark. It was aggressive. It was something that, really struck a chord with me and jokey nature kind of stuff never really caught on with me. So I think our bands tend to have more of a darker edge in that aspect. Lyrically, it's not something that generally, we'll have kind of lowbrow lyrical bands. It's not something that I typically enjoy anyway. So maybe there's that. I tend to be drawn towards a lot of the darker death metal too, in that aspect. I love that. A little bit of a blackened edge or, something else in there as well. I like Dummy and Caveman stuff as much as the next guy, but for me in the label, it's not something, that I think is really suited for it, Yeah. So, so that's kind of what influences me. I don't mind drinking a beer and headbanging once in a while, I guess, but it's not something long-term is what I listen to,
Right. Well, what do you usually listen to then?
Van Halen.
Yeah.
Today what I listened to, I listened to Autopsy. We listened to Mental Funeral today. I listened to Show No Mercy. We listened to... we listened to Slowly We Rot today. So, my stuff's kind of all over the place. I do listen to a lot of different stuff, too. Stuff that I share on my feed is kind of what I listen to.
Right.
I listen to, I kind of mix it up. When you're down here and you're working all day, every day, and you're listening to music at the same time, you want to find different stuff to listen to as well. So I listen to a lot of the demos. Some of them, I might only catch on with one song or whatever. Listen to a lot of the newer stuff that comes out that people are kind of plugging, just to keep an eye what I need to get from the distro, see what people are into, that sort of thing.
Totally.
But I do listen to a lot of Van Halen.
What era Van Halen?
ZZ Top too. I love ZZ Top. Obviously, 1984 and before, but
Yep. Totally. Yeah. Honestly, man, I remember in grade school and when the new Van Halen started, I ate one before you or something like that and all that. I had no Hagar influence on me at all. I just couldn't do Hagar stuff. I don't mind it now. I kind of appreciate it now because I find Eddie's guitar is pretty fucking heavy. But just something about Hagar stuff, right? But yeah, everything 84 and under.
And you got to realize too the time frame we're talking about. I mean, when you grew up in the early 80s and 83, 84, and guys said they listened to metal, they've had jackets where they'd have like AC/DC logos written on it, or Dio, or Black Sabbath, and Van Halen. I mean, those were the metal bands that they were into, so it was before things got truly extreme. So that's the kind of stuff that that you kind of learned and cut your teeth on, for me at least, obviously, and Dio being one of my favorites as well. So
yeah, totally. I'm a big Van Halen guy, and I remember I read somewhere too that early Van Halen, when they started playing a lot of the shows, Eddie would turn his back to the crowd so that he wouldn't let people see him doing his tapping and all his flares and everything like that. And that was intriguing everybody. Like, what the fuck is this guy playing? I can't tell.
My son and I actually watched that ZZ Top documentary 2 nights ago. So, because he's 7, and he kind of has picked up some of my favorites or things that I listen to, and he'll grab what he likes, and then that's what he goes on with. I don't know how he started liking Kiss, because I was never a big Kiss fan. I don't listen to Kiss, but he liked Kiss for a while. So we watched the ZZ Top because he's really into ZZ Top documentary, and that was pretty good if you haven't seen that.
It's the Banger Films one, right?
Yeah. It was good because they didn't really talk, the Banger Films guys. I don't want to hear any of that. I just want to hear from the band and the guys. It was pretty good. There wasn't, language-wise, until Frank Beard started talking about drugs and he slipped a couple F-bombs in there. It was pretty, it was pretty PG, honestly. So, but there was a couple, cover your ears, Matthew. Hey, don't say that.
Yeah, I like old ZZ Top myself, man. I mean, like you said, how old did you say? You're 49?
I'm 48, yeah.
48. I'm 45, so we pretty much grew up on all that same shit and just, trekking into what was heavy and just guitar driven at that time, right? And you're not a Kiss fan. Sure. You're not a Kiss fan.
No, I don't like Kiss. I never liked Kiss. I had an uncle that used to bring me Kiss merchandise in the 70s, and remember he brought me a Kiss transistor radio, and I thought their outfits were cool. And guys would show up and they'd go to Halloween, they'd be dressed as somebody in Kiss with the makeup and stuff, and that was cool. The music wasn't, anything for me.
Right. Yeah, like I didn't mind Kiss Live It Loud, right? Off of Creatures of the Night, right? That fucking, when I seen that video, like that was a heavy song, right? So I was like, okay, Kiss is cool. But then when I started digging into it, I was literally like, okay, what's going on here? This is kind of weak compared to this song and everything. So I kind of didn't go too far into it. But later on in life, obviously, you kind of go back and it's like, okay, did I miss anything? And I love fucking pretty much, I'm not a big fan of the Dynasty album, but everything under that is unbelievable.
There's a lot of stuff that I went back to later on in life that, when I was 18, I was like, that's poser stuff, man. That's not fast enough. Or that's not, that's just weak. But now I listen to it, I was like, man, this kicks ass. I would have known about it earlier. But when I was 18, you wanted stuff that just really killed. That was it. This is poser stuff.
Well, it's
I try to catch up to it now,
Yeah, no, totally, man. I'm the exact same way, man. Like, yeah, exactly. Like when you're growing up, you're fucking punk rock, you're fucking metal. Like it has to be heavy, it has to be aggressive, and everything else sucks.
Yeah, that was it, man. I was like, man, this is weak.
But I love it now. I fucking love it, man. Dress to Kill, I find is my favorite album.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's cool, man. I just really get into them. I wish, But Gene Simmons is a dick anyway, so.
Yeah, okay. So Dark Descent, moving along or whatever like that, what made you, were you a big Time Ghoul fan the whole time?
To tell you the truth, the guy Corey that I was first going to work with on his album, he kind of disappeared like early on. He was huge into Time Ghoul, and he would get me to listen to it all the time. So it was something I was familiar with, and I really liked it. But as time went on, I tried to approach him a couple times. I'd heard that there were a couple labels that had tried in the past to release the Time Ghoul material. So early on in the label, I kind of formed a partnership with Ted over at the Crypt Vinyl, and I was talking to a couple guys. I was talking to like Antonio about releasing the discography. At the same time, though, Ted was talking to Gordon, who was in touch with Jeff. So we kind of put our heads together and said, hey, look, let's just work together, and we'll work on this together as a joint release. We'll get everybody on board in the band that was on, the demos and on the two demos. And we got Gordon, who talked to Jeff and Antonio together, and we came up to agreement to release all that stuff. And once we did, that's when Mark Riddick contacted us about doing the artwork for the discography. So the way it worked from there is Mark's like, hey, I really want to do the art. I really love Time Ghoul. I've got the demos. I was in contact with Jeff all the years ago. It's totally cool. I'd like to do it. And I said, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. And I had known Mark, had worked with him a few times already by then. And he sent us something early on, and we weren't really feeling it, So he sent another draft through, and I talked to Ted. I was like, this is it. We need to use this. And that was what the artwork eventually ended up turning out to be for the compilation. And originally it was just the four demo tracks, and, we had them massaged a little bit, but not, blown out or anything as far as the mastering process, remastering was concerned. And then some along the lines, we ended up with the additional tracks, the instrumental parts that were available, and some live tracks. So when that first issue came out, I only had those 4 original tracks available. So, but thankfully, that original pressing of the CDs, for instance, sold out in a matter of like 2 months.
Yep.
It was a really big seller for us at the time. And I kept telling people in trades, I was like, you need to get more of these Time Ghouls. They're selling really fast, but a lot of guys didn't. So we ended up selling the majority of that first pressing right through our own store, because not a lot of people were carrying it because people just weren't picking it up. And then as soon as that sold out, we decided to do, another edition with the bonus tracks on there, and maybe kind of like a 2 CD and a double LP thing. And that's where you see the current iteration of it.
Jesus Christ.
We were doing some bait and switch, like we were just selling this and then making the extra tracks on the second edition so we could sell another version, but that's not really what happened. It was just happenstance that we ended up getting these tracks right after that other one was sold out.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'm finding Time Ghoul kind of represents the label to a degree a little bit of where you're going with your music. Like, you got, your Blood Incantation has that psychedelic feel, and Horrendous has some cool fucking, melodic parts and everything like that. But Time Ghoul just had it all. It just didn't seem like everybody was ready for it at the time, like back in the day.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's just a byproduct too. We're talking about like influences on sounds and newer bands and stuff. That's just a byproduct of people listening over the years and, and saying, hey, because let's face it, not everybody was a Time Ghoul fan 25 years ago.
Not at all.
I mean, there was a reason they were just a demo band, unfortunately. But, but as people kind of caught onto it and started listening to it and started picking up the demo CD or LP, it kind of influenced some of those newer bands. Maybe a little bit. I wouldn't say totally. I think sometimes when people like to attach influences, they do it a little hastily. But yeah, I mean, their sound is a good representation of what we kind of go for. It's not, squeaky clean. You're not going to get typewriter drums. You're not going to get, you're going to get something that sounds, pretty organic. And that's the kind of stuff that I like.
Yeah, totally. And like myself, I remember seeing Time Ghoul back in the day and all the zines and everything like that, but just reading the reviews, you know, how they were saying it's atmospheric, it's spacey, it's got weird parts and all this kind of stuff, right? So that turned me off because I was a big, like, you know, it was either brutal death metal or just fucking gore grind back in the day, right? So, you know.
Those weren't me. That wasn't me, though. You know, neither of the, you know, I wasn't a brute. So, yeah, so it's kind of like what you like and what I liked might have, you know, the past might have been opposite, but we all kind of, eventually, you kind of, like you said earlier, though, we go back to stuff and we missed out in our earlier days and we wished we had listened to it. You know, that's just another example, I think, of that.
Holy shit. And yeah, and then after I started seeing, you know, Dark Descent doing these re-releases and all this stuff, I was like, okay, so what's this band all about? Obviously, if this label is putting this shit out, there's some worth to it, right? So I went back and I fucking checked it out and I was like, oh my fucking God, like this is unbelievable. This is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember early on people would, you know, say we release a lot of stuff or release too much stuff. I was like, I'm a record label. I have a record label. We put out records. That's what we do. You know, I mean, it's not too much for me. Why are you complaining about it? You know, it's not. We're not sticking out garbage out there, you know, just for the sake of releasing stuff. So I thought that was a pretty silly criticism I used to hear early on. But yeah, it kind of, now you see a lot of labels kind of, you know, have a pretty large release stable like that. But yeah, I mean, it's been kind of one thing after the other. With us, though, you know, it just seems like something's coming all the time, and that's what we want to do. I thought it would be good, at least if we were active, especially in the release arena. It keeps our name out there, and it keeps people talking, and it keeps people listening, and gives them something to look forward to next time, not just one release a year or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but you're releasing stuff that's different. That's the key, though, right? Like you said, you're not just putting out caveman shit. You're not just putting out like brutal stuff. Like there's characteristics to the band that you guys are releasing.
Oh yeah, we've done, you know, doom metal. You know, Crypt Sermon's totally different than anything else that we've done. You know, black metal. Our last release that kind of got caught up in this pandemic thing was the Nox Formulae LP, and you know, it's Greek black metal. So you know, we do primarily death metal, but it is kind of varied in the releases. You know, and we do. I don't want to pigeonhole myself because I like metal, and if I hear something that's cool and I think it's going to fit the label, then I'm gonna put it out. So I don't want to pigeon myself to say, well, I'm just a death metal guy. This won't fit on the label. If it's something that I like and it's not death metal, then it's going to fit on the label.
Yeah, perfect. And that's a good way to look at it too, right? Like you said, like, I mean, you got, you know, certain labels that are only caveman, only fucking brutal, only whatever, right? But you're trying to keep the peace and just release shit that you just love, period.
Yeah, I mean, that works for them. That's cool. I'm not going to criticize somebody for kind of releasing all the same things because it's just not what I do. And it's not what I wanted from the label, even from the beginning. I kind of had a vision as far as that was concerned, as far as what I wanted to do.
Yeah, totally. So how did you get in contact, or how did Blood Incantation come into the mix?
Let's see. Well, I used to see Paul at shows, you know, and they knew who I was. I had met Isaac a couple times, but I used to see Paul at shows and some of the other guys. They were playing in other bands, and Paul seemed to always kind of hit me up at some point, you know, to tell me about what he's got going on and stuff. So I met Paul, you know, that way. At the shows, he would come up to me because, you know, he loved Hedonist, he loved Time Ghoul, and these were some of his favorite bands. And I was releasing that stuff, you know, just an hour away from him. So whenever he could run up to me at the shows, he would, you know, hand me a cassette tape or something to listen to. And it just kind of went from there. At first, I was kind of like, okay, you know, maybe just another local dude, you know, pushing stuff on me because, you know, you end up with a lot of stuff. It's just what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, man, you know, how am I going to listen to this stuff and listen to Van Halen? You know? So yeah, I mean, you know, somebody did end up eventually telling me, though, they're like, you really need to check this out. So then I did, and I was like, wow, this is sick. So I started talking to Paul, and then we kind of went from there. At the same time, Eli, the drummer in Spectral Voice, he'd been a longtime friend. I mean, even, early on, for instance, he went with me when we went to Rights of Darkness to sell merch, and he helped me out. So this was in 2011. At the same time, he was, hitting me up about the Spectral Voice stuff, which also included Paul. So I had both of these projects at the same time. I was like, hey, let's just do them both, and that's kind of where it went. First, we did the Blood Incantation Interdimensional EP first, and that came out in 2015, but that had been done a couple years ago. And what had happened, they had developed sound problems that they didn't like with the recording, and they had an issue with who recorded it, and they just couldn't get the sound. They were really kind of turned off by it. So I said, hey, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get this worked out, because it's great stuff, but it just needs a little help. And that's when we talked to Damien of Horrendous. He's got his own studio, and he does great work. I mean, he went to school for that stuff. So we ended up using Damien to, kind of help those songs along a little bit, which he did, and they sounded great for what it was. The band was happy, and we were totally stoked, so we put that EP out, and, wasn't anything that blew up like people think. It wasn't something right off the bat. Like, these guys got their hype by playing 50, 60, 75 shows a year, and by constantly touring, and by constantly getting out there in front of people. So that kind of stuff kicked off. Once we had that EP out there, we started promoting like Starspawn, and we even had copies of that when the pre-orders for Starspawn kicked off, the EP still. So at some point it kind of took off a little bit more, but as the band was getting out there, they were getting known more, and it just kind of helped itself.
Yeah, totally. And I keep bringing up the Time Ghoul thing. People started appreciating like that sort of style of death metal, and Blood Incantation comes in and starts throwing in this kind of like, I wouldn't say classic rock, but it's like psychedelic. It goes all over the place. And then it comes back in, it punches you hard, it's raw, it's all over the place, and it's not just like standard, fucking Florida death metal. It's got its own feel.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Florida death metal though. So,
totally. Yep.
But yeah, it's got its own vibe, and I know there are a lot of people that love that band. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, any records we've moved of it, and it's been a lot. And it's kind of wild seeing that progression of a band that started off, and they put in their work, and they worked real hard, and they kept pushing, and sat in those 12-passenger vans in 100-degree heat with no air conditioning, and they really pounded it, and then kind of see them grow, and then see it take off, and then see this swell of like, hate, the anti-fan come out. Really silly, because I'll laugh sometimes, because some of the same people that will spout hate upon that band were asking me for interdimensional LPs or buying them, So because of a band earned their way, and a band continued to tour, and a band got big, hey, good on them, man. They worked hard. What you get is oh man, the band's fans suck, and this band sucks because a lot of people like them. Well, you know what? Fuck you. Some people you just can't please.
Well, but that's the problem, though, right? It's like they didn't stay underground for those fans, right?
That's ultimately, everybody wants to think that they've got this little pet band that nobody knows about, that only they like and stuff. Yep. But that's the kind of way I was when I was 18. I mean,
I get it.
I'm not that way now, obviously, and I think it's great for them. They've worked hard, and just like a lot of bands on the label have, they worked hard to, get the name out there. I remember on a forum, I don't know, last year or the year before, seeing somebody make a post, and it was a critical post, and their whole premise was, oh, these bands sign on Dark Descent Records, and it's like hitting the lottery. People start buying their albums and all. And he made it sound like it was a critical thing, like it was a bad thing. Like, hey, these bands signed to Dark Descent Records and people start buying their albums. And,
Yeah.
So isn't that what a label's supposed to do? What's your problem, man?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. I laughed at it, because it was some of the silliest criticism I've ever seen.
You're a fucking death metal label. Relax.
Yeah. Hey, man, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. Who cares? If you talk more about stuff that you don't like than stuff that you do like, then you're a poser. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yep, no, it's totally true, man. And like you said, people hating on, something that's getting, some play and tours and all this shit. It's because they fucking worked for it. It's not because it's popular. It's because they fucking worked for it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like some corporate band or they were signed on a big label and they got the big media push or anything. I mean, they were signed on my basement label. I'm in my basement now.
Well, yeah, all the pictures you always post all the time, fucking working your ass off in the basement, getting your orders together.
Yeah, so, I mean, it wasn't like these guys, just kind of came about and they got everything handed to them and, they got all these, puff pieces written about them.
Right. No, it's because they busted their ass, and that's and they rightfully deserve where they are.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Totally. I mean, fuck, man. I ended up first time, like I think I messaged you too. I was like, I'm going to see them with fucking Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse in Buffalo, and that fucking blew my mind. And then of course they come around again with Immolation. I'm like, holy shit, man! Like, it's just one of those bands. They're fucking awesome live too.
Yeah, I mean they got a couple big tours like that, which really helps out too. But that came out of the product of people really enjoying Starspawn, though.
Yep.
It wasn't like something. It was like, hey, these guys did really well, and everybody's talking about this album, and it'd be great, if they'd be added to this. So it wasn't something that early on, hey, the band's got a new album coming out, but they got this big corporate tour with Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse. Didn't happen that way.
No, it's because they're fucking good.
Yeah.
No, totally, man. I mean, we can go on about Blood Incantation and shit, but it's just nice to hear, like I said, man, they got these cool psychedelic parts, and then when we were hanging out with the Immolation guys, those guys appreciated the shit out of them because, I mean, how old are the Blood guys?
Well, Paul, I think, is 32 or something. Yeah. A couple of the guys are obviously younger than Paul, so it's just late 20s or early 30s.
Yeah. And they're showing...
And I know. Those guys, I mean, those guys asked for Blood Incantation to tour with them,
Sweet.
So I know Alex well and, Ross and Bob. So Alex had approached me about them touring, and the first time it didn't come to fruition because were busy. They were supposed... It was something else that they were supposed to tour with Immolation before that tour, but they had another tour plan. They couldn't do it, and then this one came along after when they met. Immolation did part of that Decibel tour at the end when Cannibal Corpse dropped off, and they got together and worked that out. So, yeah, I mean, those guys too in Immolation, they've always been behind, young bands too, and
yep.
And they listen to the new stuff. I know Alec was telling me, and Ross was telling me about when they saw Crips play at a festival, and he said everybody in Immolation was blown away. They were like, this band's awesome. They wanted me to give them CDs and stuff. So, yeah, they loved Crips, too. So, which I do as well.
Right on. Yeah, because Alex was mentioning, even Ross and everybody was mentioning how they liked the fact that when they were on tour with them, that they would go to the record shops, smoke, a shit ton of joints, and then go find all this cool old school psychedelic and prog rock and all these old albums, which is a cool influence to see with a younger generation.
Oh yeah, Paul's a nut. Paul's a nut for the vinyl and stuff. I mean, he's always searching for music. I mean, he texts me every day. We just talk about whatever, share memes or some silly stories or something like that. But when they were on tour, I would get a couple pictures a day of his record store hauls and you know, I was just saying, check out this cool shit I got. You know, a lot of stuff, and he's used, you know, his little success from the band to buy more records.
Of course, man. That's what you do, right? I mean, you start digging for the shit that you're like, okay, this is gonna cost me a little bit, but I can kind of afford it now, so I'm gonna fucking get it.
Yeah, and that's where he's at. You know, he loves records, he loves music, and he's always been that way. That's what he does. You know, I mean, he's a perfectionist. I mean, even the other day, he found a typo in the CD for Hidden History, and he sent me revisions because the previous version that we did, the back tray text wasn't quite aligned. So I said, fix it. I got to put in a new pressing anyway, and we fixed it. You know, I fixed it because it wasn't quite aligned like he wanted to.
That's good, though.
So well, you know, early on, when we're working on the interdimensional, that artwork for the Bruce Pennington artwork for that planet with the skulls and everything, that was a colored piece.
Yep.
So in order to get a black and white, he went through each pixel on that artwork and he removed the color. And
wow.
He shaded it, did whatever he had to do to make it like that. He spent hours. And he made an early mock-up. He would go to Kinko's, make copies. He would, you know, make a vinyl jacket with how it looks. So everything that I would get from Paul, even now, if I get something for a new release, is going to have some kind of mock-up where he showed me how it looks beforehand, where he printed it out and did everything.
Right on.
That's crazy. Yeah, he always, you know, talk about riffs at 2 a.m. He used to do that. Now he's in America, so I don't really hear from him at 12, you know, about some sick new riff or about, you know, something that he found anymore. But, you know, he's still crazy with that stuff. He's a perfectionist with that.
Yeah, so that new album, I mean, let's just keep going on the Blood Kick. That new album, fucking, like, holy shit, man. It's getting received like crazy.
Oh yeah, we had that. We had the Crypt German album right before that too, and that, you know, did real well for us, and people really loved that album. It got a lot of talk, and it rode that right into the Blood Incantation album. And I mean, there was a good 4 or 5 months where, you know, I could barely breathe, you know, getting packages out here every day. It was great. At the same time, it was a hell of a lot of work, but we managed to do it, you know, because, you know, that's what we do. I really kind of, you know, when I talked to the Cruelty guys, they released that album right after the Blood Incantation album. I was like, hey, look, you know, do you guys want to do it now at this? I know it's right after the Blood Incantation. And they were like, yeah, heck yeah. You know, they had no problems with releasing it right after, which was great because it ended up doing real well for us as well.
Right on. So what's in the future for Dark Descent now? What's going on here?
Man, well, this pandemic's kind of caught everything, you know, midstream. We had several releases all ready to go. I mean, including like the new Lantern album. It's finished at the plant, but because of the pandemic and the freight pricing for the shipments, kept them there because it's double and triple right now. So we have represses of stuff, like 4 vinyl represses at the plant that we can't ship here because of the freight costs. We had that new Lantern kind of got caught in limbo, and I don't think it's really fair to kind of throw it out even with this going on, because I want people to talk about it. I mean, these guys spend a lot of time, you know, on their songs. They spend a lot of time recording. They spend a lot of time rehearsing. And, you know, when there's something big like this going on, I know eventually people will clamor for, you know, more of a normalcy to everything, and there will be a time, but I didn't want to continue pushing the new album out just because the vinyl was ready, because, like I said, I don't think it's really fair to the band, and I didn't want to shortchange anybody as far as getting the word out, because everybody's kind of caught up in this, and they're, you know, dealing with this right now. Yeah. So when things kind of die down, we have that new Lantern album. We've got the Proscription album, who also contains Chemo from Lantern, but also Terry Christ Butcher from Mobbeth and Dethroned. So he's Excommunion. He's in there as well. And that's pretty sick stuff. You'll like that stuff. Then we also have a couple of compilations, like the maimed reissue.
Yes, that's been talked about for a while now.
Yeah, well, it has been talked about. See, and I know people get frustrated because things take a while, but at the same time, we had literally nothing for the main stuff. We have no artwork, we have no files, so all that stuff's kind of had been created. And sometimes when you work off of other people's timelines, you can't necessarily push them for stuff.
Nope.
Especially like in Timo's case, he did the artwork and the layout stuff, but he was a huge fan of the main demo. He told me that he tried to release that stuff on his own years ago. So he joined on and he really wanted to be a part of it, doing that layout for us. But at the same time, he also does a lot of other stuff. So it wasn't something that, I would gently poke him every once in a while and remind him, hey, let's get this done, or can we do this? And it took a little bit longer than we wanted. But, like I said, all things come eventually. So, yeah, I kind of look at it like people are really excited for it, and that's great. But at the same time, I hate getting messages about the same damn thing. I didn't forget about names, you know what I mean? It's going to happen. Sending me a message again and again and again doesn't push it up on my timeline if it's not done, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what it is. People are excited at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, literally, there's nothing you can do on your end. You obviously, and like you said, you obviously know that there's a demand for it. People are asking for it. You get it.
Yeah, and I saw somebody make a post like, he needs help. He's too stubborn to get help. And
fuck.
It's delaying all these other things. And I had to kind of correct him. I was like, look, the only thing that's delaying those releases is the files that we need. We have to get this stuff done. Nothing delays it because we're too busy. And how do you know how busy we are? I mean, if I get too busy, then I get people in here to help us out. But
sure.
It's just the way it is. But people have these misconceptions, so sometimes you just have to correct them. Is all.
So is this maimed your idea to bring out?
Actually, it was Scott's. Scott approached me about it. Scott Carroll from Cyanide, because they're good friends of mine. I love the Cyanide dudes. We're on the same age too, so when we get together, we kind of feel, they feel like brothers. They stayed over when we did the Dark Descent anniversary show. Hung out. They kind of wanted to do. I said, "What do you guys want to do?" He's like, "Well, I just want to relax and do nothing." I said, "Hey, man, I can do that really well." I'm really into that too. So we just went, grabbed a couple beers, grabbed some Hooters, and then just sat around, So, but yeah, Scott, he approached me. He was like, "Hey, do you know Maimed? Are you interested in doing this?" And then I talked to Eric about it, and we all got on board with doing it, and that's how it kind of came about.
Sweet. So it's coming. And
it is coming.
Yes, of course, obviously. So stop fucking emailing him. Relax. It's coming. Okay?
So it'll all come. And I mean, I like to space stuff out. I don't like stuff sitting right on top of each other. No. But I feel like when things clear up a little bit, that we'll probably have a little bit of overlap more than usual. But yeah, I kind of like to space things out a little bit because I'm not unlimited space, and having 20,000 records in here, it's going to pick up most of everything that we got left. So.
Yeah, but you can't release stuff on top of each other because you're going to burn yourself out and the label out.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we kind of try to keep the release schedule, spaced out. We got to keep that little bit of separation between releases, just for my own sanity, but also to provide that kind of proper promotion, at least for the bands and the work that they put in.
Of course.
We're not just making CDs and then throwing them out there and saying, "Hey, check out this, buy it now."
Yeah.
It's available to stream. It kind of be a little build up. We want people to know about it first.
Oh, for sure. I mean that's what you should be doing anyways. That's just good marketing.
Sure, but I mean, not everybody's got the same kind of means, or at least the same kind of push that we have as well.
Right.
I mean, but that came along from 10 years of just grinding. That's all. It wasn't like people just overnight found out about Dark Descent Records and decided just to buy our titles or anything. It just came from 10 years of grinding. you know, this is my life, man. I mean, I've got a 2,700 square foot home, 1,300 square foot basement is committed to at least several years of sales if I quit the label. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's just there's a gross amount of stuff down here in my 2 storage areas. So I'm committed to this. You know, it's not something that, you know, well, I only need to work a couple days a week. I have to do this all the time. I get messages all the time. I got to respond to messages. I got to, you know, we got to move stock. We got to go to storage. We have to pack up orders. So it's not something that we kind of shut on and off.
So you do all this because, I mean, that's a lot of work just on your own. You obviously, like you said,
I've got help on the warehouse and distro stuff, you know, but I mean, yeah, it is a lot of work. And you know, I've been doing this, you know, it's been a gradual build up along the 10 years, you know, people finding the label. So it's not some magic that I just turned on and said, hey, everybody buy Dark Descent stuff. Dark Descent's so trendy. I mean, you know, we've been doing it for 10 years plus now.
Yeah, totally. But you've been putting out quality releases. That's the key, though.
Yeah. And not everybody's into it, and I get it. So what? Well,
yep.
You know, shut up, you know. Now we're out with that. Not everything is for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm not saying everything on the labels for every listener out there, because some people just don't like doom metal, or some people don't like black metal, or some people don't like this style. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. But I think we've got enough out there that might interest you if you're a fan of extreme music, that there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yep. No, totally. Yeah, you cover all spectrums of death metal, really.
Yeah.
Not totally.
I kind of sometimes, you know, I've turned away bands because they're maybe similar style to this band on the label, and I don't want to kind of, you know, push samesies along. You know, it's just is what it is, and maybe it's in the best interest of that band as well. You know, because I don't want to see a band kind of get that stigma attached to them that they're just sounding like these bands, or this band's all sound the same. It isn't what I
exactly.
You know.
And that's good. That's smart to be that way. And I just want to give a shout out to Alex. Alex Books just piped in here, so he's watching. Right on.
Okay. My man Alex is there. What's up, Alex?
What's up, Alex? What's up, bro? We're just talking about Immolation and the big tour and everything like that. You going on about Blood Incantation. Because again, like he was the guy that was telling us after the show when we seen him in Toronto, and he was just like, those guys, they just get it. Like, it's fucking awesome. It's good, organic.
Alex has been down here, you know, in the dungeon several times, you know, stayed the night, got a spare bedroom in the back. You know, him and Cynthia were here last time on the tour for the Immolation Blood Incantation tour. They stayed the night back here. So, yeah, he knows what's up. He knows, you know, all about it. And, you know,
sweet.
Pain and suffering.
Oh, man, that guy's been grinding for fucking ever. Holy shit. Totally.
Yeah, it's all good, yo.
Yeah, man. So what have been some of your favorite releases on Dark Descent?
I mean, you know, I really hate picking stuff out because,
of course,
I feel maybe guys will be like, well, you know, you left us out. But I mean, there's bands that really click with me, man, you know, and I love a lot of stuff. But, you know, things like Adversarial, their sound for me has been something that's kind of been a hybrid of that Death Black, you know, off the wheels kind of sound, and then, you know, kick it into another gear, and the riffs are great. You know, Carlos is a great dude. Eric, Mike, all those guys are great dudes. You know, I've known them now for 10 years. You know, I've been over to Toronto and hung out with them and everything. And that's one band that's always kind of clicked with me from the beginning. Even the early days, you know, when everybody's talking about snare and all that stuff, the riffs were still there, man. That stuff was still sick. I love Lantern. I'm a big Lantern fan, too. I love Lantern. I mean, you know, those are some of the bands that I really, really like, but I really like, you know, a lot of stuff, you know.
Right. Well, because obviously whatever you're putting out on your label, you love.
Yeah. I mean, just something with, you know, like on Below that just totally clicked with me. You know, I just love the vibe. I love the eerie leads that Chemo, puts in the songs. I love the riffing. It's something, catches with me. Same thing with Adversarial and just other bands as well on the label.
Right on. What has been the toughest release that Dark Descent has dealt with?
Toughest.
Like obviously, getting out there, like
Yeah, are you talking about like toughest to work with?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I don't really. I'm gonna keep that one to myself.
All right.
Everybody's been cool. There've been hiccups along the way, and there've been people that are a bit more difficult to work with than others, or not even really difficult, I would say, because everything gets worked out. We're all kind of flesh things out, and sometimes I may not totally agree, but I always let my point be known. I'll always get that out there. And oftentimes what you'll find, if you just kind of talk through things and you say, hey, well, this is where I'm at. This is what, my opinion is on it. And if you choose not to do it, then that's cool. But a lot of times I'll find that if I explain it and what I'm looking at, because I'm not always just looking right in front of me, I'm looking like ahead of me,
Yep.
2 or 3 spaces. So I'll kind of present those types of things to them, and then they'll look at what I'm looking at then, and they say I agree with that. I mean, one case in point, for instance, was when we did the Unending Degradation. And you got to keep in mind though, this was early on in the digital spectrum, and that album was released in 2013. I had spoken to the Crips guys, and they didn't want to put it out digitally. They didn't want to do Bandcamp. They didn't want to do Spotify. They didn't want to do that. And I explained to him, I was like, look, man, this is 2013. People aren't just throwing money away on CDs and tapes and records. So, if people are willing to support, I would like to make this stuff available in these formats, because there's a lot of people out there now that still want to support the bands but still want to buy digitally. I'm not a digital music fan, I mean, my walls are cluttered with stuff. At the same time, though, I do see a need, and it's my job to let them know at least, this. And they agreed no digital, and I was like, you know what, okay, it not a problem. It was 2013. We're still kind of young. But the next time I saw them prior to the following album, we met up again in Finland, Denmark for Killtown, and they told me that I was right. And I went to the album digitally and the new album as well. So, in the end, it's good. I mean, it's good. Like I said, you don't always agree on things, but in the end, you kind of work through them.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? It's just like a relationship with your woman or your man or whatever like that. If you're fucking honest and upfront, shit gets dealt with, and then everything's fine.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm not trying to, just unilaterally make decisions that affect everybody. I this is a partnership, so I want to make sure, I'm not going to make art decisions. Just say, hey, look, this is the way we do things. This is the font we always use. This is what we want on all our releases. There's got to be some kind of a little give and take there sometimes as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. And lucky for you, you've been heading over to that Helsinki, like the Killtown Death Fest, man. How's that been?
I first went in 2013. Yeah, that was 2013 was my first year. I went in 2013, 2014, 2015, and they stopped. Mm-hmm. And I went back the first year that they, did it again, and I missed last year just because I was just totally swamped. I mean, we had the Crip Sermon and the Blood Incantation. I couldn't do it, man. Yep. So I love going there. I've made a lot of great friends. I get to see all the guys, because usually they have, 6 or 8 bands on the label that play. So it's a chance for me to kind of get together and drink beers and just not talk about music, just talk about other stuff and relax, and get to know people. And that kind of helps a lot too.
Fuck, man. Those shows honestly just seem like those are the shows that you need to get to.
Yeah, and I find myself not wanting to travel as much as I did early on. I'm getting older too. I just sometimes would rather stay at home. Yep. I always would like to make that one. It's fun. It's a good time. I get to see my buddy Jesus at Misako Unoho. We would fly into London and go to his house, and we'd stay there a couple days and cause trouble. And then we'd go over to Copenhagen, and then, Then I go back to London. That's usually what I do. So, but yeah, it's cool seeing everybody hanging out, and making memories.
Yeah, man. And that show right now, like every time they